Morning, everybody. It's the A to Z of property strategies with David Clouter. Now, we're being a bit quiet because that was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a T-Rex. Shh, we're bringing this to you from prehistoric times. Now, we've got a lot to share with you. We were on the G's doing garages last time. David, over to you. What are we going to share today?
I typed into the time machine, you see Mark Bolan, but it went a bit wrong.
Yeah. Shh.
Yeah. Another kind of T-Rex. We're going to continue from where we left off last time. We're talking about the garden split.
Yeah, well, when you said garden, I didn't expect this sort of garden.
Well, no. And this is not doing the splits in the garden and doing exercise and gymnastics and stuff. This is it's a developer's strategy where oh my what you can do is you can chop the garden in half basically and develop some of it and part of this is the sort of backfill strategy where you've got a whole load of houses in a row like that with some back gardens. And you might get in through the side of one, or you might have to demolish some bungalow or something, and suddenly you've got an entrance to all the back gardens. This comes a cropper when you've got everybody to agree except one. But what you tend to do, and then you've got a big rectangular building plot with some access. If you get one person sticking, what I would tend to say is have a road that sort of goes round in the direction of where their garden is, and then put a little garage there or something that you can get rid of later, and then you've future-proofed yourself, and you don't get any ransom strips or trouble or that kind of thing. But this can be a very profitable strategy because land, as we know, being on an island, is in very short supply, and it's a great way to find more of it because people don't necessarily need 200-yard gardens with the T-Rexes roaming. They're quite happy to just grow a few tomatoes and roses at the front, and so you can actually, in terms of the house in the middle. I'm sure you're going to have a better way of negotiating this, Andrew. But here's what I do: I would just knock on the door, and I'd say, oh, hello, Andrew. Have you thought of selling your house? Do you know, on the open market now it's worth 300. But I tell you what, if you sell it to me right now, I'll give you 4. And that's the sort of opening gambit that I do. And say 2 times out of 3. People will go for that because these are people who are, find someone who's sort of approaching retirement age or that sort of thing, and they want to head off to the Caribbean, and it sends them away with more money in the pocket than they would have otherwise. And obviously, it's done on a lease option, so the planning doesn't come through for £1 or something, because we're paying all the legals, so it's not a huge fee for it. And if the planning comes through, then it's a bonanza for everybody.
No, I certainly have done that before, and I've done it 2 ways. One is knocking the doors, and the other one is sending letters. Both ways have positive results. I do it slightly different to you in terms of I don't necessarily go and buy the house to get the garden. What I've tended to do, well, I have done that way, but I've also, which is more profitable, approached them and said, would you be interested in selling off a portion of your garden for a piece of cash that garden is or worth more than what the garden's worth for you? And they're getting cash, they've still got their house, and it's a really great way of doing it. So, yeah, I've done that.
Fantastic. That's even better.
Yeah.
That's even better, especially if you've got a sort of wide berth out of the side of the house or a corner plot or something like this, then they can easily do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll cover that under a different strategy.
I absolutely love corner plots, by the way, and we'll come on to them. We should probably that's probably a C that should have gone in the list, and we'll probably put that later. We'll think of plots brackets corner.
I think it's a garden because a corner plot is actually a garden on a corner house, isn't it? So we'll put that under gardens. Executive decision.
So that's the old garden splitting. You don't need a shovel. Yeah. Whoa. We're making too much noise down here.
Yeah.
Gearing up sounds like something that Jeremy Clarkson would do, doesn't it? Really, and all of his friends. But actually, gearing up is borrowing more against your property. Now, their advantage to this that they explain to you on courses, so that, for example, if you've got a house worth 100 and you put in a £25,000 deposit and the rest is borrowed, and the house goes up to just 125, you've doubled your money. One of the things they forget to explain on courses, which is rather naughty, I think, is that if the house goes down to 50, you've lost all your money. So there are two sides to this thing, and I know they don't tell you that, do they? So and despite all the courses I've been on in my many years in the business, so there is an element of risk to doing this kind of thing. But if you have your spreadsheets and you run your numbers, and whenever I'm doing any sort of project, I like to have a range of values. So this is what I'm hoping for, and then I go +5, +10 if it's worth a bit more, -5, -10, and in some circumstances minus a little bit more. And you want the numbers to stack under these. You don't just want to have one kind of scenario. Oh, it didn't quite work as I hoped, and I've lost a lot of money. You've got to look at all sides of this and run the old numbers and ring up your friend Dave, get him to write you a special spreadsheet, and then all's well.
No, gearing is very important, and it needs to be looked at in a number of ways as you get further. Let me take that back one second. If you're a new starter in property, generally speaking, you don't have bucket loads of cash to get going. So what you tend to do is what they term momentum investing, but your gearing tends to run very high. So you'll be running probably at maximum gearing that you can, so that you can keep trading for as long as you can. Then you tend to plateau out when your portfolio's reached a level of income that you're looking for to sustain your lifestyle. And then as rental values grow and as the asset value grows and you remortgage, what you tend to do is you remortgage onto a lower loan to value product because the asset price has gone up, the rents are going up, so you can pay some of the asset down. So there's a life cycle there for your gearing to consider.
Yes. Now, can I pick up on this thing about the asset value going up? Because you'll come across people who tell you, oh yeah, asset values double every 10 years. But this is a bit misleading because the whole of the UK, shock horror, they don't behave the same, so whilst and again historic indicators don't tell you what's going to happen in future. So you might have a Brexit, and hypothetically everybody might leave the City of London and prices might do something else. Above a line that runs from Hull down to Bristol. I bet I've done that wrong. I bet it should be that way. But anyway, whichever way it is, above there you get higher cash flows. Below there, your cash flows are appalling, but historically we've tended to get the sort of capital growth. So we can't, when using gearing, always assume that the asset value is going to go up. It would be lovely if it did. But that's okay, because in those circumstances we use all that extra cash flow to pay down the mortgage a bit. So it's okay. And when I started out in property in the year when there was great there were great cash flows all over the country, and I was just like paying down mortgages even in the south, just out of cash flows, throwing money at these mortgages and watching them diminish. And if you look at graphs, your 25-year mortgage can be done in 10 or 15, which is great, because then you can go out and get another one and buy more stuff.
Which is another strategy there, reducing the interest or the term of the mortgage, because the amount of interest you save is huge. But we'll cover that later.
That's O, but we'll cut back overpayment.
Yeah.
That is on the list, or it will be by the time we finish recording this. We have another one, and goldmine area. That's Klondike Pete and his shovel over his shoulder, and he's heading down to those caves, chipping away at the walls.
There panning for
the
gold.
old pan as well. And this is an often used term to indicate a place in a city where you might find the kind of properties that work for your kind of strategy. And it's going to depend very much on the strategy. But we want evergreen. We want stuff in a sense that works across all markets ideally. So we're looking at a part of town that isn't too cheap, because then you'll have sort of like mattresses on the street and all that kind of thing, and fires in the bins, and spare tyres and things. We don't really want that. But we don't want a Tesla in the driveway because that doesn't really work either. Even if it's got all its four wheels still on, which it wouldn't have it if it went into that first area I was talking about. So we want somewhere in the middle. And you know, my preference is for the mid-range properties. I love the old Victorian ones. That's just me. Some people like newer properties. It's horses for courses. It doesn't matter. But you know, in an average, where the average sort of person in that area, depending on the area, would want to live or rent. And very often your 2, 3, 4 maybe bedroom house in a terrace or something like that. That's the sort of thing that you'll be able to rent out all day long. It's got to be in the right location, or that you can sell all day long. So kind of that sort of vanilla type thing is my gold mine area. And you could do. I do these, I haven't done them for ages actually, but I used to do these on patch days where I'd go around into a completely strange town. I've done lots of them. I did York. York was a lovely one to do. And I just arrive, in those days it was safe to travel on the train. It just takes you back, doesn't it? And so I'd just arrive at 10 o'clock in the morning and we'd just wander around and have a look at a few properties, have some, and I'd give the person I was doing the on patch day the homework. So I would just be there from 10 till 6 or something. They would already, I tell them what to do. They'd have arranged some appointments with estate agents and that kind of thing. I would do the conversation with the first one, and then much to their horror, I'd be walking in the second one and say, right, over to you. And then I'd give them some feedback on how they did, and this kind of thing. We'd have viewings. We'd have lunch somewhere. We'd have a chat to the waiter or waitress, and we'd say, yeah, what's the area like? Any beheadings recently and all that kind of stuff? And they would fill you in on that. I'd be walking down the road, and this is one of my ninja strategies, which we mustn't tell anybody, Andrew, which is walking down the road. I did this by accident on one of the early ones I did, but then I used to incorporate this. I'd be looking for a cat. That's got you puzzled, doesn't it? That's got you puzzled. Yeah. And what I would do
did they have cats when I found in prehistoric times, David? I'm just looking around, and they must have been huge cats. Huge cats.
Well, in the prehistoric times, funny you mention it. Here's my prehistoric cat, which I just brought in for today's thing. It's all right. He's bitten me. So we'll put him back over there actually, because he's a bit hungry too. Yeah. So you see, we really are where we appear to be today, and so I'd be walking around this area, and I'd see a cat, and then I'd bend down to stroke it. Now, if the cat goes wah and scarpers, then you know that there are people who set light to its tail and attach it to fireworks and all kinds, insert things into its ears. So this might not be a good area to buy. But if the cat rubs itself up and down your legs where it's spreading pheromones or something and markers and things like that and purrs, then you think it's full of, you know, dear, lovely people, and any kind of cat lover is a friend of mine. And so dogs know because they might bite you, you know, even if it's a nice area. But cats you're pretty safe with, except when they roll on their back and sort of, if you're going to tickle their tummy, they will scratch you for sure. So a cat on its back, stroking like that, purr, which is you know, there are indicators like that. And, you know, you go around the supermarket and you see how many frozen food aisles they've got, and if it's too many of them, it's a kind of avoid area, and you know, just lots of little pointers, and very often not the obvious ones to find your gold mine area for investment.
No, I think they're great pointers there. I mean, one of the things that I often do if I go into an agent's, I'll have a good chat with them, I'll express some interest about some specific properties they've got on the board, and then I'll pop a golden question to them. So who is your biggest competitor in this town? And then go and let them talk about who their biggest competitor is. Next, go to that person and ask them the same question after you've expressed interest in some properties. Who is their biggest competitor? And you get to find, if a number of fingers point at the same company, that's the go-to company to get your deals from.
Isn't that interesting? The biggest competitor. Thank you for those deals. Where else can I find them? Yeah. Do you ever get sort of hostility for that question, or you put it in a nice?
Not at all. I mean, people were, I'm the best in the town. Yeah, I actually genuinely believe you are. But there's competition out there. Who's your number two? Who are you frightened of most?
Wonderful question, and one that I will incorporate henceforth, both if I'm doing some coaching of people or if I'm doing it off my own bat. You're a genius. So I'm really honoured to be on with you today. That you've surpassed even my wildest expectations.
Yeah, well,
And that fellow over there's a bit hungry, the dinosaur. So I'll keep him at bay. I'll keep him at bay.
I'll poke him with a stick.
And you see this? Well, yes. This leads very nicely because I've got the list. I have to say, I've got the list of things. And even though I've shared a link with you on Google Drive, wherever it is, I know you don't get a chance to look at it that often. So I know what's coming up next. So you couldn't have set this up better because the next one is good agent versus bad agent. We're not talking, James Bond versus Dr. Strangelove. We're talking about estate agents and who to work with. So isn't that an amazing?
I think that was a good intro. I mean, I didn't realise we had Google Drive in prehistoric times, David, but we did travel here in our time machine, didn't we? But yeah, absolutely. Blue one, of course, with a blue flashing light on top. But the reality is we do have a list of these strategies and I have read through them. But could I actually remember that good agent, bad agent was coming up next? No.
You might have one of those superpower memories that you exhibit on stage at the Great Property Meet. I guess you probably have. Do you want to kick off on this one? Because it is a kind of, it's a great topic.
Yeah, well, good agent, bad agent. I mean, every town, or if you speak to any investor, they can give you a list of agents who are good and who are bad. And the thing is, over time, the good ones might become bad. Now, what you need to do is filter out the bad ones because you don't want to be working with them. If you're letting your property, I always approach this as a gamekeeper come poacher. Now, I don't know if David's ever done this before. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, Mr. Agent. I'm looking to rent a property. What have you got on your books that's a 2-bed, just like the flat that I own? But you don't tell him you own the flat. You describe your exact property. Has he got anything on his books that matches your property? How does he handle your inquiry? Does he act as though he's really keen and interested to get you in as a customer? No, I haven't got anything, but if I put you on a list, I might have something within the next few days. Da, 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 da. So you basically fish to see how good he is with the customers, your tenants. If he's really good, you'll have a good positive experience with him. If he's a bad agent, you won't have a positive experience with him. If you decide, I think he might be good, phone up or get a business partner, spouse or somebody else to phone up on your behalf. Ring, ring. I've got a 2-bed flat. I'm looking to let it with you. Do you have any demand or any prospective tenants? If he comes back with some positives, then you know he's a pretty damn good agent because you've seen him on the other side of the fence. And you can also tell very quickly if he's a bad agent. That is one of the ways that I use that's a real cracker to get under the hood. David, what do you do? What do you do?
It's a good one, and of course we're talking letting agents because there are obviously two types of agents. There are the letting agents and the buying agents. But yes, with the letting agents, another little trick that I do is I work into the conversation at different points in the conversation. How many people work in the office? And how many properties they manage, and then I do that little sum in my head. And what do you reckon? What's a good number to get for that? How many properties do you think one person in that office could reasonably manage? Because I got my number. We'll see if they're similar.
It depends on it depends on what they're managing. If it's HMOs, it's different to if it's single lets, and agents tend to specialise. But a single agent should be able to manage 30 to 50 properties comfortably without too much stress, giving the tenants a decent service and also giving you as a landlord a decent service.
That's right. That's what I was going to say. 40 to 50 is my maximum. And if it's 100 or something, then, thank you very much and goodbye. Yeah. So there's a couple more things about agents while we're at it, and that is the buying agents. You might find, and I've worked with different buying and selling agents for different things. If you've got the agent who's absolutely rubbish at selling, then what you do is you buy from him.
Yeah.
And so, I've had agents who couldn't describe a property to save their lives, and are just sort of so unproactive as to be extraordinarily bad, and so you come in with a low offer.
No.
And they'll kind of pass it on, and it's the only offer the vendor's ever had. So after 3 years on their books, they might go for it. There's that. And in terms of viewings as well, I love the viewings where I try to do these viewings at sort of odd times. You say, I can't do Friday afternoon or anything. So it's okay, got anybody on Sunday or something? And these tend to be, they'll either be the office junior or they'll be the retired fella. And either of those will be very honest about how long the property's been on the books, all the cracks. They say, well, if I were you, I'd move that wardrobe out because there's a big crack behind there. Is there really? Oh, well, thank you. And so that's something that I kind of love. But then when it comes to selling, I'm looking for the boy in the sharp, shiny shoes and the spiky hair sitting at the front who's, 25, 30. And I'll sort of, engage with him and also with the boss, who will make sure that the shiny spiky haired guy kind of doesn't lose focus, if you know what I mean. So kind of, there are different ways of dealing with these things.
No, I totally agree with you, Dave. Now, I think it's about time we go and jump in that phone box and get back to the time zone that we're supposed to be in. I mean...
But before we do, I've got one more point. I know we're kind of going on for eons here, longer than we should, but we are in a time machine, and that is a good way to buy properties at a good price is to find a letting agent who doesn't do sales, and you say to them, if any of your landlords are really grumpy and miserable and want to quit, give me a call and I'll give you estate agent type commissions. So I'm done now.
No, that is a cracking tip because letting agents often have some of the best deals that are going out there. So cracking little tip, David. So I think we'll head off quickly over there and get in our phone box and see if we can jet out of here and find somewhere a little bit better for us because it's a...
Remember,
it's a bit
Andrew,
scary.
this is the takeaway. It doesn't matter which of us can run faster. It matters who can run... no, it doesn't matter who can run... I've messed that up. It doesn't matter who can run faster than the T-Rex. It matters which of us can run faster.
That's right, because the T-Rex will only eat one of us. So, let's get going. Bye.